Hey everyone, this is Emily Mercado. I'm just recording a face video today because, I had promised in the gospel seminar that I would record and post the testimony that I gave a couple of months ago at my church. I'm just going to adjust my camera a little bit. So I've got my notes so I don't forget anything. So here goes. This is my testimony. So I've always known, that God and Jesus are real. I grew up in a very faith-filled home in the United Church of Christ. My parents made sure to take me and my brother to church, every week. I got confirmed. I was baptized, sprinkled as an infant. And so I had kind of fallen away, from the church, for a while in college. And then, I came to the Catholic Church as an adult. I was confirmed, right around Easter time, in the Catholic Church, and of course, every week I would hear the word and receive a message, related to the word. After a while, though, I really felt like I was just going through the motions, of going to church, mainly because I didn't want to disobey my parents. I was just going, hearing the word, going through all of the prayers, just really just going through the motions. But, once I was, well into my adult life, I just found myself saying, probably a little bit more than I should. I'm too tired. I want to sleep in. Or I'll go on Saturday night so I can sleep on Sundays. Or, I have too many other things to do, so I'll just go next week. And, next week, oh, the same thing. I was pretty much, at the point in my life where I was just making excuses as to why I didn't want to go to church. I had too many other things to do, and eventually going to church and, following Jesus really just became an afterthought. Through this, even so, through this, the seed was still in me, that God and Jesus are real and they're always present. And the longing to know more was still inside me, but I was stubbornly resisting Jesus' call to return home. And despite all of this, being stubbornly resistant to God's call, I know that He continued to show me He loved me and that He wanted me to pay attention. Um, One Sunday night, after my husband and I got married, we got married in October of 2018. So a couple of months later, one Sunday night, I had ended up taking my husband to the hospital because we thought he was having a heart attack. He was, pressing on his chest, for a couple of hours, and he started to get, flushed and sweaty and all of that, so probably around 8 or 9 o'clock that night, I had ended up taking him to the hospital that was near us where we used to live. Um, and as I sat by his bedside throughout that, wouldn't leave his bedside. So as I sat through his bedside, throughout the night, I found myself um, turning to God in prayer, asking for him to heal my husband and, help us kind of figure out what was going wrong. Ultimately, that morning, my prayer was answered when the doctor pretty much told us that it was nothing more than a heart event. And it was just a matter of that his insulin levels needed to be adjusted and that there was really nothing to worry about. Other than, obviously just making sure that my husband got, consistently the right dosage of insulin. So looking back, it was in that moment, I think that the seed to return to relationship with God was planted, right? So a few months after that event, I guess, that event, I was driving home from work, after a particularly tough and trying day. And, I happened to be listening to one of my Christian stations on Pandora, and one of my favorite Christian songs came on the radio by Selah. The lyrics, like the opening lyrics say, "When I think I'm going under, part the waters, Lord. When I feel the waves around me, calm the sea. When I cry out for help, oh, hear me, Lord, and hold out your hand. Touch my life, still the raging storm in me." Just because like I was, that particular song at that moment, was pretty, there was pretty, appropriate, because I really felt as though there were a lot of, storms and waves and, um, just like unsettlement, like just surrounding, my life at that moment. But, you know, the there's more to that story, of course. The moment that song came on, as I was driving, looked up. I looked up at the sky, and it happened to be kind of a cloudy day, and literally as clear as the nose is on my face right now, I saw Jesus' face, in the clouds, and behind him, was the rays of sunlight, like as if he was wearing a crown of rays of light. And I knew that in that moment, that moment was, instinctively, like every time I cry out to Jesus, he will be there, and so that was, a really powerful, thing for me to encounter, and to happen. And I still think, 3.5, 4 years later, every time I tell that story, it really, um, it's like it happened yesterday. Um, so then, if we fast forward, things were, going along. And then fast forward to probably by this time about a year ago, by now, March or April of 2020. The pandemic was just starting up. It hadn't really hit, the New York City area, that badly just yet. And it was, one Saturday afternoon, that everything changed. Everything changed for the better. For the better. Um, my husband and I, had moved out to New Jersey, just, because cost of living in New York, was really kind of crazy, and we just wanted to be kind of out of the city, out of the, hubbub and expense that is New York City. So we had decided to go to Manhattan, for the day, just, to spend some time together and, just be out of the house, for a while. So, we had a really nice day and we got a lot of stuff done. But, of course, toward the end of the day, I was getting kind of anxious to get home, because I was getting tired. I just wanted to be home. I was, hot and sweaty and, like I just wanted to go home, take a shower and rest and relax. So we had taken the subway, to 34th Street, I believe, like right around, it was right near, Penn Station, like the Greeley Square, I think, in Koreatown, like in that area. And, as we were coming up from the subway, over the din and the noise of the city, we heard, such beautiful singing. So, we had gone, to where the singing was, and it was, a group of, young people, probably about my age, maybe a little younger, singing, Christian songs, and we were, standing there for a while listening, and it's like, oh, this is really nice, so, as we had stopped, to listen, a young man, probably about my age, his name is Johan, spoke to us and, told us about his church, the Church of Jesus in Paramus, New Jersey. So he had invited us, to come to church the next morning because it was a Saturday, and, there were church services, the following morning. So we, happily accepted. And it's like, okay, we'll go, we'll check it out. And, because, at that point, we were kind of, looking for a church to attend, because we felt that, it was time to kind of get back to, going to church and practicing our faith and learning about our faith. So we had gone to services the next day, and for me, um, the moment that we walked in the door, um, I felt like I had immediately found where I was supposed to be, and like I had never, I'd belonged to churches, I had, like for most of my life, but I had never really had that experience of, walking into a church like before services had even started, right? And, really felt like, yes, this is where I was supposed to be. This is the place, where I was supposed to be. And I really felt like I had found the place where I needed to be for my faith, where I could grow my faith. And, for the first time in years, 5 or more years, I finally felt, at peace, that where, and I wasn't aware until that moment that, yeah, this is exactly the kind of peace and the kind of place that I was looking for, where I can grow in faith and I can learn, more about the Bible, and I can really learn, how to be a Christian in this world. So, we had continued to attend Sunday services. We go to the English services. They also have services in Korean, because Church of Jesus is a predominantly Korean church. So we had gone to the EM services, the English ministry services in the morning. They start at 10 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. So as we had continued to attend Sunday services and our regional group meetings on Wednesday evenings, with Johan and his wife Julie, we began to hear more and more, about the church's annual summer retreat, which usually happened, end of July, beginning of August, somewhere in there. So, my husband and I, kind of talked, like I really wanted to go. Like it really didn't take too much to convince me, to go. So he and I had, spoken about it, and, kind of, figured out, yeah, let's definitely go. And as for me, like I wanted to, being that I'd never really been to like a church retreat before, I really wanted to go, because I was looking forward to, deepening and strengthening my faith, and learning, like what it means and what it takes to be, a better Christian and a better Christian woman at that. In other words, my main goal was to change my life, right, for the better. I just didn't really expect, how deeply, profoundly, and completely my life would be changed, and believe me, that's a good thing. And there was some chatter about, oh, they do baptisms as well there, and I'm like, well, but I was baptized when I was an infant. I was sprinkled, and they're like, yeah, no, that doesn't count. Where like in our church, they believe in baptism by immersion, where they like you go into a pool and you're dunked under the water. I mean, I don't mean to trivialize it. It's actually a very profoundly beautiful occasion and experience. But the experience of being baptized in our church is very symbolic, and just very profoundly meaningful. So the more I heard about that, and the more I learned about the retreat, in the days leading up to this event, I made the decision. And it was only between me and Pastor Joe, like where I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell my husband that I had made the decision to get baptized, to choose Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and, go through the process of being baptized. I didn't tell anyone, because I didn't, really, even though I know like it's a big deal to be baptized, like I didn't really want to make a big deal about it. And then, when that moment came, that I was baptized, immersed in the water and everything, helped me to see that, even after all, that I am truly a child of God, right? And, in the summer retreat, we're asked to, kind of reflect on, if there were any like particular messages, any particular moments or things that, touched our soul. But like truly, like there are too many moments, there are too many messages for me to mention. If I do, then like if I talk about it, then we're going to be here for the next 5 hours, and, I don't want to make this, a 5 hour testimony. But I think like the most, profound thing that I can come up with, and this is going to sound kind of silly, is that, being surrounded by, by my brothers and sisters in Christ, like away from the world, set apart from the world, and receiving, God's messages, God's grace every single day, like every single moment of every single day, along with the messages that Pastor Joe, said and gave every day. It really helped me, to finally understand what it means to be Christian. And, being able to be in God's presence, every day without interruption, like without distractions, no interruptions, no TV or phones or anything like that, really opened up, my understandings, and really just opened up, the possibility to me, and for me that, I can really, you know, understand. It just really opened, the floodgates, so to speak, for me. And, anyone who knows me, even peripherally, but especially those of you who know me well, know that I always have something to say about everything. That's just the way it is. I always have an opinion. I'm always looking to say something about everything, right? So for me, like during this time to have been rendered, awed and speechless in God's presence, like I had nothing to say. Like I just, like, other than like, oh my gosh, just wow. That like to me that's truly amazing. But I think like the most profound moment of all, though, was when I had that night, after I was baptized, was when I received the gift of the Holy Spirit, because, and being able to, like, when I pray, speak, speak in tongues. And it doesn't happen, every single time, but, like when I'm in prayer, being able to, um, speak to Jesus, speak to God, in ways that like only my spirit can, and knowing that those kinds of prayers are particularly received, to me, that was, pretty amazing, and in that moment, when I first received that gift, that I knew that, my old life, has been washed away. And, I've been given a second chance to live the life that I've always been meant to live. So, for me, going through all of this and, really making an effort, every day in my prayer life and my faith life, has been really humbling and everything. And, I can hear my husband. I'm recording this video from home, and I can hear him in the other room, doing his worship, his daily worship. It's been nice now to have really that kind of shared experience of, being Christian, right? And, there are just so many times, like since this testimony was originally written, there have just been so many times since then, where like I've learned more how to lean on God and more, leaning on my faith. Like truly, like to get through certain things, to get through certain events in, in my life. And, it's March of 2022 now. And a couple of, back in December, this December that just passed, my husband was in the hospital for 2 weeks with COVID. He's fine, thank God, but like during those 2 weeks, had I not had my faith, like my own faith, and belief that, Jesus, like when I reach out and pray, had I not had that base, I don't know, like really what would have happened. And that's not something really that I want to think about, other than like now looking back, it's like, yes, I, get it now, that, when you reach out, when you pray, when you, submit, and when you like empty yourself, when you humble yourself, it's, definitely, and something that, I never really experienced before. And then, also when I had told, when I had reached out first to Johan and Julie, because they're our regional group members. When I had originally told them, that my husband was in the hospital, they prayed for him, and they let our group members know, and they all prayed for him and Pastor Joe, the entire church, just, prayed. So the point being, it was a really, humbling lesson to me. It's like, okay, hey, look, I need this, we need this, this is what we're going through. These are the struggles that we're going through. And, just to know, like never really having been taught that before, or never having experienced that, like in all of the places that, I've gone to worship, um, just being taught that, and, being, learning that lesson, over and over and over again, that's just something that's to me been really powerful. So, it's my hope, that whoever is listening to this, or, watching, that, something would be taken away, that you would take something away from this, and, um, take the message, and, take it to heart. So, if you want, you can leave a comment. I'm gonna, obviously I've posted this by now, and if you would like me to reach out to you with more information, I'm happy to do so. Just in the comments, I'll leave the comments on open. But please be civil, please be nice, and please be respectful. I'm would be more than happy to, like, if something I said, resonated with you, please leave a comment. If you want to speak further, please leave a way for me to contact you. I'd love to have more of like an opportunity to speak to you. Invite you to my church. But even if nothing resonated with you, that's okay too. You know, but I would hope that whoever is listening, whoever hears my story, my testimony, um, I hope that it, like what I said, touched you in some way, shape, or form. So, hopefully, I'll share more, of my story when I'm not like a blubbering mess, like I am right now. So, anyway, so that's my story, and that's who I am. That's kind of my experience. Hopefully I will be able to share more. Hopefully my husband will um record a video as well. And share his testimony as well. So again, my name is Emily Mercado. This is just my testimony, and um I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys. And um as I always say, like at the end of my the gospel seminar videos, um I'll be praying for you, and I hope that you equally pray for me, and hopefully I will see you soon.